quite a few numbers. Okay, so we'll start today's class with a small quiz. Yeah, like Surat said, we'll start today's class with a small quiz on Jan 1 to 15 के questions. So जो हम पहले किए थे, that 80-page document we have put in the classroom, we're going to start with that. And I expect answers this time because एक हफ्ता we gave you guys to study. So I'll start with that. Okay, first question. In how many states was the foundation of the Lighthouse project laid? You can answer in the chat. You can answer through
6.
6 states. Okay, great. Cool. Okay, just a second, guys. I'm really sorry. Right. Okay. Yeah, we'll get back to the question. Okay. Who has developed the Covaxin for India at present? What is the name of the company?
Bharat Biotech.
Alphabet. Yes, correct answer. So glad to see you guys have studied. Okay, what is the name of the COVID virus? We've discussed this in class.
SARS.
SARC.
Is it just SARS or is it something else?
SARS-CoV-2.
SARS-CoV is the right answer. Okay. Moving on. What is the Central Bank of India? RBI. When was RBI established?
1995. 1935. 1935.
1935. Okay. Headquarters of RBI?
New Delhi.
And where was RBI first established?
Kolkata.
Okay. What is Braille? Okay, in context of that, obviously you won't be asked what Braille is, but when was World Braille Day first celebrated? Okay. It's 2019. World Braille Day was first celebrated in 2019. Okay, we'll move to the next question. What number president of the United States is Joe Biden?
46.
46. Sorry, 46.
46. Okay, and who is his vice president?
Kamala.
Harris.
Okay, let me just look for questions because again, guys are answering, so running out of prepared questions. Okay, so who has the authority to authorize vaccines for emergency use in India? What is the name of the post?
DCG.
What?
Drug Controller of India.
Okay, it's not drug controller, it's drug controller general. It's DC. I think someone said DCG. Okay. Right. What are the names of the two vaccines? So kind of interrelated questions.
Covax and Covishield.
Vaccine and Covishield. What is the full form of ICMR?
Indian Council of Medical Research.
Slightly unrelated. I wanted to. Okay. What was yesterday? What is the significance of yesterday?
World Health Day.
World Health Day. And why is World Health Day celebrated?
Don't know, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Why is World Health Day celebrated? Guys, we've discussed this at least twice. Yes, Gautam, you want to answer?
No, ma'am. I don't know.
क्यों सेलिब्रेट किया जाता है वर्ल्ड हेल्थ डे? अरे नहीं यार, not to create awareness among people. Okay, the significance of World Health Day is the World Health Organization, who was established on 7th April 1948. No need to remember the year, but please do remember why World Health Day is celebrated on 7th April. Okay, who is the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate?
Malala.
And when is Malala Day celebrated?
12th July. 12 July.
12th July. Got it. Good. Okay. What is ISRO's latest moon mission called? Name of the mission. And I want the name of the solar mission as well. So moon mission and solar mission.
मैम रिकॉल नहीं हो रहा.
Anybody else? Moon. It is not just Chandrayaan. What is the full name?
Chandrayaan 2.
Chandrayaan 3 is the latest
3.
moon
3.
mission. Sun mission क्या है? Solar mission? It's just Hindi names for sun and moon. सूरज मत बोल रहे ना. What is the solar mission?
बृहस्पति.
Brihaspati is Mars. Solar mission is Aditya L1. Okay, I'll type it down. Aditya L1. Okay. And Chandrayaan 3 is obviously the third lunar mission. So there was a Chandrayaan, then there was Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3. And does anybody know why Chandrayaan 3 is being put into force at this point? Chandrayaan 2 तो हुआ था. Why is Chandrayaan 3 being put into force? Anybody? Okay, cool. So while Chandrayaan 2 successfully entered the orbit, मतलब वो moon के orbit में गया था, but it crash landed. हाँ, तो मतलब basically it went on to the surface of the moon और वो land नहीं कर पाया. So the mission was a failure. So Chandrayaan 3 is a mission repeat of Chandrayaan 2. ठीक है? Okay. Again, these are things that we've already covered. So please try to remember. What virus causes this thing? Avian flu, avian influenza. What is avian influenza? पहले ये तो बताओ. Bird flu. What virus causes bird flu? H5N8 virus. This is the particular virus which is causing bird flu in India right now. India as well. There was a recent bout of bird flu. Okay, cool. Who is the third? Aisha? कुछ बोलना है? Okay. Who is the third biggest exporter of rice in the world? Country?
China.
No, not Germany, not China. Let's look at South Asia.
Australia.
South Asia, South world में. South
Vietnam. Vietnam.
Vietnam. Yes, Vietnam is the right answer. Vietnam is the third biggest exporter of rice. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's talk about NHRC. पहले तो what is NHRC full form?
National Human Rights Commission.
Who is the chairman? Current chairman? That person. जितना टाइम लोगे तो गूगल ही कर लोगे ना. थोड़ा spontaneous responses. So when you are studying about a topic again, time and again, for you, whenever you pick up a particular topic, for example, अगर हम NHRC उठा रहे हैं तो we'll do NHRC का year, we'll do NHRC का current chairman, we'll do all of the static facts related to NHRC as well. ठीक है? Yes, the correct answer is H.L. Dattu. Who is H.L. Dattu? Okay. Okay, so basically justices, senior most justices and senior justices are appointed as chairman and vice chairperson of the NHRC. So H.L. Dattu is again one of those justices. Okay, cool. Which ministry has launched the Indian scientific expedition to Antarctica? Anyone wants to guess?
Ministry of Earth Science.
Ministry of Earth Sciences. And what is the name of the vessel?
Ice class vessels.
Ice class vessel is a type of vessel. The name of the vessel is Vasily Golovin. Okay, I'll type it out. But ये सब वो document में है जो classroom में है. Keep revising that particular document. Coming to the question of Ministry of Earth Sciences, anyone can tell me where the headquarters is? Or who the Minister of State is? Either question if you can answer. हेडक्वार्टर तो बहुत आसान है. मिनिस्ट्रीज के हेडक्वार्टर्स कहाँ होते हैं? पार्लियामेंट कहाँ है? Am I audible?
न्यू दिल्ली।
हाँ तो बोलो ना, न्यू दिल्ली. तो सबको पता है पार्लियामेंट न्यू दिल्ली में. Where are the headquarters of the ministries? न्यू दिल्ली है भाई. पार्लियामेंट न्यू दिल्ली में है ना. So all of the ministries also are situated around the parliament. The ministers themselves reside in Delhi, no, a lot of the time. Okay. Just unrelated question, but just checking if you guys know. What is the exact name of the place? Prime Minister's office. Prime Minister's office and Prime Minister's residence. I want.
न्यू दिल्ली।
New Delhi में एक specific जगह है. What is the name? Okay, looking for a few more different answers. Or कोई wants to try?
राजघाट.
Okay. बेसिकली जो सीट कंसिडर किया जाता है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का, जो राष्ट्रपति भवन एक्सेट्रा, दिस इज पर्टिकुलर स्पेस वेयर इट इज लोकेटेड. इट्स रेसिना हिल. ठीक है, रेसिना हिल पे. एंड इट इज आल्सो कंसिडर्ड टू बी काइंड ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पेस वेयर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का ऑफिशियल लाइक जगह है. एंड रेसिडेंस ऑफ द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, डज एनीवन नो? ये सारे स्टैटिक क्वेश्चंस है एंड यू काइंड ऑफ मतलब कभी भी आ सकता है स्टैटिक क्वेश्चन. ये लैंडमार्क स्टैटिक क्वेश्चन. नहीं, not राष्ट्रपति भवन. राष्ट्रपति is president. How can the prime minister reside in राष्ट्रपति भवन? If you guys don't know, I'll type it out. It's 7 Race Course Road, huh? 7 Race Course Road or 7 local landmarks, both the same place. But that is the official address of the prime minister, residence, whatever you say. Huh, 7 Race Course Road. Yeah. Okay. When was the Antarctic Treaty signed? I need a year.
1981.
No. Anyone else? Before 1980. Before 1981. 1959. No, not 1959. Okay, it's 1961. Okay. 1969 is the year the Antarctic Treaty was signed. What is the article for right to life? Bottom. What's the article for right to life?
21.
21. What is 21A?
21. Education, right to education.
Right to primary education. Again, right to education नहीं है. It's right to primary education up to 14 years of age. ठीक है? So ये गलती मत करना. It's not right to all education as in school, high school, college ये सब का नहीं है.
Primary education.
Just for primary education. Yes, 21A. Okay. Fundamental rights का articles. From which article to which article are fundamental rights in the Constitution?
12 to 35.
Part.
But don't know. मतलब recall नहीं हो गया.
Part 3. Part 3. चलो. It's article 12 to 35, part 3 of the Constitution. ठीक है? I'll just type it out. One second. Okay, great. What is the Central Vista project? What particular building does it revolve around? Central Vista project? Okay. Yes, Parliament. It is a case for the new Parliament building. Okay, finally, और थोड़े questions करेंगे फिर we'll move on. हाँ, who is the DG, Director General of who? We've discussed this in class. Who is the Director General of who? World Health Organization. है PPT में, so keep looking at the PPT. That was admin. Okay. Lok Sabha maximum number of members, Rajya Sabha number of members. In Rajya Sabha, I need you to make a distinction between the members.
52, 542. No, 52, 552.
552. 552 is the maximum number of members for the Lok Sabha. Present members कितने हैं?
240.
Present members of Lok Sabha कितने हैं? What about Rajya Sabha?
245.
245.
Yes, Rajya Sabha में 245. I was talking about Lok Sabha के present members पहले. हाँ, तो maximum number of members for Lok Sabha is 552. Present members यानी कि अभी कितने members हैं लोक सभा में? 545. राज्य सभा में 245. Yes, 245 का division क्या है? Division is in elected members, nominated members का क्या division है?
12 nominated.
By whom?
President.
12 nominated members by the president. Those who are at the top of their fields in whatever field they are working in, they're nominated to the Rajya Sabha. Okay. What is the national time for India? What is the name of the time? IST. What is the full form of IST?
Indian Standard Time.
Indian Standard Time. Great. Okay. Okay. Finally, almost 6:30. I plan to take half an hour. Okay, we'll go till 6:35. Can someone tell me when the World Bank was established?
Ma'am, 1995.
Apriksha, then Aisha. Apriksha, what are you saying?
1944.
Aisha?
1995.
Okay. It's 1944. Yes, it's not 1945, 1944. Okay. Just 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm really sorry. Yeah, 1944 is the correct answer. Okay, so right now India is facing a technical recessionary phase, right? With respect to its GDP, can someone tell me what GDP is? Full form and definition.
Domestic
Gautam, थोड़ा
Domestic. Gross domestic product.
gross domestic product. What exactly is gross domestic product? What is gross domestic product?
Total income of a particular area. Geographical area.
It's not
Eh,
total income. It's the total of all the goods and services produced in a country. ठीक है, produced within a country. Goods is normal जो तुम खरीद रहे हो, say a chocolate, an apple, जो भी है, वो goods है. Services is something you're being offered. For example, if you're going to be lawyers, तुम एक सर्विस दोगे लोगों के. You're not selling any goods, but you're giving that particular service and you're charging an amount for it. तो वो एक service है. Total amount of that goods and services, उसका total cost is GDP. Yeah. Okay. In what year was the last national education policy released?
2020.
2020.
Great. And when was the India-Japan nuclear deal signed? Need a year.
2000,
हाँ, Gautam, क्या है answer?
15.
2016 was the right answer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And in 2019, if you guys remember, मैंने क्लास में बोला था, there were two sister cities. An MOU was signed for two sister cities between India and Japan. What were those two cities? Ahmedabad and Kochi नहीं. Kochi nahi. Okay, I understand why you said Kochi. It's a city in Japan. Yes, Kobe. Yes, Ahmedabad and Kobe. Okay. Final question. Guys, more or less answered, which is great. Okay. Right. Who was the first president of the United States in respect of the Capitol protest? Who was the first president of the United States? George Washington. Yes. How many terms did he serve? Not a decade. How many terms did he serve? मतलब इंडिया में for example say a prime minister serves
2 terms.
2 terms. Yes. Term क्या होता है इंडिया में? A prime minister serves a term. A term is of 5 years, right? वो चीज एक term होता है 5 साल का. And what is the maximum number of terms a US president can serve?
4 years.
कितने?
4 years. 4 years.
Not 4 years.
2.
Yes, it's 2 terms. Maximum number of terms a US president can serve is 2 terms. Okay, great. With that, we will move to Jan 15 to 31st ka document. I'm going to try to present, so let me know if it's visible. Is the screen visible?
No, ma'am.
Abhi?
No.
Screen किसी को नहीं दिख रहा?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll try presenting once more. Ab,
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
great. I will switch to the document. But before that, Digital Nalanda, I'm joining from another account so I can check the chat phone se. Okay, great. Right. Jan 15 to 31st. Okay. We'll start with this. I'm so sorry. This isn't loading in the right page. We're having some technical difficulties in class today. I'm really sorry. Okay. We'll start with a collegium system for the appointment of judges. So we'll just give you thora time to read it and we'll discuss for your static questions. Okay, cool. So let's start with what the collegium system is, right? So Supreme Court में specific बहुत छोटे number के judges होते हैं. We'll come to that for static questions soon. But what the collegium system basically is कि system of appointment and transfer of judges. So generally क्या होता है Supreme Court में जो judges आते हैं, they are either justices at some high court or they have served as advocates for a really long period of time. There's a specific term for that as well. But they are either judges who have served at high courts, they are either judges who have been chief justice of high court and such, and then they are transferred to the Supreme Court, right? This system which has evolved is a new form through the collegium, and this has evolved through these particular three cases. Okay, these were three landmark cases. First judge's case was in 1981. You don't need to remember details of all of the cases, but तीन cases क्या है वो याद रखना जरूरी है. First judge's case was in 1981. Second judge's case was in 1993, and third judge's case was in 1998. Okay, going to start with the static questions. At what age does a Supreme Court judge retire? Chat box में if you want to turn on your mic वो भी चलेगा.
65 madam.
60?
5.
65. Yes. 65 age में एक Supreme Court judge retire होता है. Okay. Do you guys know what RTI is?
मैम कोई कोई क्वेश्चन आप पूछ रही हैं वो समझ ही नहीं आ पा रहा है कि क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रही हैं.
मैम राइट
आवाज नहीं आ रही
इन्फॉर्मेशन.
क्या? आवाज आ रही है ना तुम लोग को?
आवाज आ रही है, बहुत
यस मैम आ रही
फास्ट
है.
पूछ लेती हैं.
ओ ओके, सॉरी ठीक है, तो बता दिया करो यार, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता कि
मैम थोड़ा जूम कीजिए, वो थोड़ा क्लियर
जूम
नहीं
करो
है.
डॉक्यूमेंट.
हाँ मैम.
ओके. Is it fine now?
यस मैम फाइन.
Okay, cool. हाँ, RTI क्या है? RTI
राइट टू इन्फॉर्मेशन.
राइट टू इन्फॉर्मेशन. ओके, सो थोड़ा टेक्निकल क्वेश्चन है, बट फर्स्ट RTI एक्ट कब आया था? व्हाट इज द ईयर फॉर RTI एक्ट?
2005.
2005. ओके. Does anyone know which act it replaced? RTI के पहले there was an act on the same issue. What was the act? Information Act नहीं, Freedom of Information Act 2002. ठीक है. Okay. तो थोड़ा टेक्निकल क्वेश्चन है, बट कैन समवन टेल मी इफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट या CJI का ऑफिस कम्स अंडर RTI एक्ट? If you want to take a guess, sorry. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Both Supreme Court and CJI का office come under RTI Act का ambit. Supreme Court is considered to be a public authority, and CJI is also considered to be a public authority, office of CJI. The case is Secretary General of the Supreme Court of India versus Subhash Chandra Agarwal. I'll type it down in the chat box. ये 2020 का ही केस है, 2019 या 2020. Just typing in the chat box. Okay. The reason I discussed this is because generally CLAT landmark cases पूछ लेता है, तब काफी problematic हो जाता है, because again there is no end to landmark cases. Okay, coming back to collegium. Okay, collegium at present is a 5-member body. Who are the 5 members? पहला CJI. It is headed by the CJI. and it comprises 4 other senior most judges of the court. Okay, who is the CJI right now?
Bobde.
Sorry.
Mr. Bobde.
Sharad
Full
Bobde.
name? Sharad Arvind Bobde. Okay, S.A. Bobde is his name. He's CJI right now. Okay. And you guys are mostly wrong. Okay, wrong to a certain extent. CJI कल ही अपॉइंट किया गया है नया CJI.
Ramana, madam, Ramana.
NV Ramana. NV Ramana has been appointed the new CJI just yesterday, but S.A. Bobde's term hasn't ended yet, so right to some extent. Okay. So HC Collegium is again headed by Chief Justice and 4 other senior most judges of that court. So generally appointment system same होता है Supreme Court और High Court का. Similarly इधर भी Supreme Court का जैसे collegium होता है, High Court का भी collegium होता है, and for both cases it's the same thing. CJI and 4 other senior most judges of that particular court. CJI generally कौन होता है in a particular court? Why is a person given the post of CJI generally? हाँ क्या? मुझे सुनाई नहीं दिया.
जो पांच में से रहते हैं उनमें से एक.
No, okay. तो हाँ collegium के respect में yes, but CJI is appointed for the senior most judge of the court. तो जो भी most senior है, experienced lawyer नहीं, senior most judge of that particular court applies for both High Court and High Court का CJI नहीं होगा obviously, but Chief Justice of that particular court. Right. So for CJI, the President of India appoints the CJI and other judges, and the CJI recommends their successor. तो मतलब recommendation आता है from the present CJI for the next Chief Justice of India, but official appointment is done by the President. Okay, let's go through the process for SC judges कैसे appoint होता है. High Court का भी similar process है, so we won't go through that specifically. Okay, so for generally when SC judges are appointed, again first step is CJI initiate करता है process, proposal आता है, and then they turn to the collegium. This is collegium of the CJI and these 4 other senior most members. These 5 people, they sit down, they have a meeting, and when they are talking about this particular judge, so for example, if the CJI decides कि आज मैं जम्मू एंड कश्मीर हाई कोर्ट से एक जज को प्रमोट करके सुप्रीम कोर्ट में लाऊंगा, fine. If he wants to bring a judge from Jammu and Kashmir High Court, he also has to consider the Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court when he is talking about this particular judge. ठीक है? So collegium members and senior most judge of the court hailing from the High Court. Generally Chief Justice ही होता है senior most judge, but senior most judge and rest of the collegium members, and then वो writing में डाला जाता है their opinions as to whether this particular judge should become a member of the SC or not. And then it is sent as a recommendation to the law minister, then prime minister, and finally president. So थोड़ा complicated process है. Collegium sends a recommendation to the law minister, who forwards it to the prime minister, and then to finally advise the president. So president का role generally always advisory होता है. The president is told through step-by-step means who the particular judge should be, who should be promoted to the Supreme Court, and then he officially appoints them. But उसका ऐसा कोई active role नहीं है. I know थोड़ा complicated process है, तो किसी का कोई questions है तो please पूछ लो. ये याद रखना थोड़ा बहुत जरूरी है. Any related question to this? Anything you want to ask? Okay, cool. Okay, related constitutional provisions. Article 124, clause 2. Okay, do you guys know कि article का जो bracket में लिखा होता है उसको clause बोलता है? Okay, so first article, for example, if you are looking at fundamental rights, fundamental freedoms का article कौन सा है? Guys, mic on करके बोल दो. Doesn't matter. Chat में type करने का जरूरत नहीं है. What is the article in the Constitution for fundamental freedoms?
40.
Not 14. Anyone else? Freedom of 19. Right. Article 19. So Article 19 में generally how it's framed is Article 19(1) is referring to the fundamental freedoms. In 19(1) is the clause. उसके अंदर you have the fundamental freedoms A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Sorry, F नहीं है. Again, थोड़ा off track जा रहा है, but to discuss this particularly, number 1, that particular 19(1) is the clause, और उसके अंदर जो A, B, C, D, E and G है, that those are the sub clauses. ठीक है, तो article, clause, sub clause. Finally, before we do this, can someone tell me what 19(1)(f is? 19(1)(f abhi is not a fundamental freedom. What is 19(1)(f?
Right to speech.
Right to speech fundamental freedom है भाई साहब. Right to speech के बिना कैसे होगा? We have a right to speech. Fundamental freedom of speech and expression. 19(1)(a). What is 19(1)(f?
पूरे भारत में घूमने का.
No, that is 19(1)(e) as far as I remember. Yes. Okay, I'm really glad someone knows this. It was fundamental right to property, basically to own property, to acquire property. Yes, right to acquire or hold property. Abhi it is no longer a fundamental freedom. It is a constitutional right now, no longer a fundamental right. तो तीन टाइप के राइट्स होता है. फंडामेंटल राइट, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट, लीगल राइट. Legal right is any right you have in general. So for example, legal right will be someone won't vandalize your property. That is a legal right, because if they do, then it is a crime. Okay? That is a legal right. Constitutional right, any legal right which is enshrined in the constitution. Okay? So for example, in the constitution you have a right to life, but that becomes a fundamental right again. So any sort of right which is enshrined in the constitution is a constitutional right. You have the right to not be killed, constitutional right. Fundamental rights, Article 12 to 35. So distinction, there are 3 different types of rights. Okay. Now in this context, Article 124(2) of the Indian Constitution provides that judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President after this particular consultation that we are talking about. Number of judges of the Supreme Court, which has been replaced by collegium, and of the High Court in the states.
फास्ट हो रहा है.
Sorry?
फास्ट हो रहा है मैम.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay. Article 124 clause 2. Okay. जो we discussed abhi, the judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President after he consults with the collegium and then with the senior most judge of the High Court of that particular state, right? So why, when we talk about this consultation with such a number of judges of the Supreme Court, this has now been replaced by the collegium system. So right now, before appointing judges of the Supreme Court, the President consults with the collegium and with the senior most judge of the High Court. Right? Clear? Questions? Should I go ahead?
क्यों? उसमें चींटियां आ गई, इसमें कचरा ही कचरा था.
और इसमें
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know who that was. कोई question है तो please पूछो.
वो नीचे कचरा ही कचरा है.
Hello, ma'am.
हाँ, no question, right? Okay. Article 217. Article 217 of the Indian Constitution states that the judge of a High Court shall be appointed by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice of India, Governor of the state, and in the case of appointment of a judge other than the Chief Justice of the High Court. So, थोड़ा breakdown करते हैं, थोड़ा complicated definition है. First, consultation with the Chief Justice of India, जो हमने अभी करा. Even in case of Supreme Court, we have a consultation with the Chief Justice of India. Governor of the state because they are appointed by the union executive, by the union government. Therefore, they have to be taken into consultation. In case of the appointment of a judge other than the Chief Justice of that High Court. So, if you are appointing any judge of a High Court का judges कौन होता है? Either they have come through a promotion from lower courts, such as trial courts, fast track courts, such as those, or they have been an experienced lawyer for several number of years. It's a set number of years again, but you don't need to know that. They have been promoted from a lawyer after having that experience for the said number of years, right? So in the case of appointment of those judges to the High Court, they will also consider the Chief Justice of that particular High Court. The senior most judge, the head of that particular High Court will be considered. And if they are appointing the Chief Justice of the High Court, then It's just these two people, the Chief Justice of India, the Governor of the state, whom the President will consult. Clear? Can we move forward?
No, ma'am.
Could we move forward? Okay. Guys, I'm really sorry. Someone from Speaks. Just 1 second.
यस गौतम, आपको कुछ बोलना है? गौतम,
Hello.
हेलो गौतम,
Hello.
बोलिए.
मैम कहाँ है?
Okay, guys, I'm really sorry for the interruption. Yes, Gautam, do you have any questions?
मैम CGI का कितना नंबर आर्टिकल में पड़ता है?
CGI का क्या?
आर्टिकल नंबर कितना CGI? चीफ जस्टिस आर्टिकल?
CGI का अपॉइंटमेंट का आर्टिकल आई एम नॉट श्योर. आई विल हैव टू चेक. 1 second. I will let you know.
यहाँ पे आर्टिकल 124(2) क्या है?
124(2) is not for appointment of CGI. It is for appointment of any judge of the Supreme Court. ठीक है? ये देखो. Article 124(2) is for judges of the Supreme Court being appointed by the President. ठीक है?
ओके ओके.
Clear?
आर्टिकल 124A अंडर CGI का आर्टिकल देखा था, इसलिए मैं कंफ्यूज हो गया था. 124
124
A.
हाँ, okay. Generally मतलब 124(2) because so 124 के like I said there are clauses ना 124(1), 124(2) ऐसे. So when we talk about appointment of the CGI, we generally ऐसे कि Article 124 is used for the appointment of the CGI. Article 124 in general ऊपर से is for appointment of judges of the Supreme Court. ठीक है? उसके अंदर एक portion is appointment of the CGI. ठीक है? Okay. Can we move on? Great. Okay. I lost the meat on my phone. Okay. Before we move on, one other static question. What is the article for discretionary power of the Supreme Court?
One, two, three.
Not 1, 2, 3. Try again.
132.
Nahi, but I understand why you're saying all of these numbers. Okay. I'm looking at the chat box. So, anyone else? Okay. It's Article 142. Okay, 142 of the Constitution. What is Article 32 and 226? Anurag? My phone. If you want to try. Okay. Article 32 and 226, I think we have discussed this in class before as well. It is constitutional remedies. Okay? So all of these writs that you can file, habeas corpus, yeah, any sort of writ for say certiorari, mandamus, all of these writs, they can be filed under Article 32 and Article 226. Article 226 is for the high courts. Article 32 is for the Supreme Court. It's not issue any case, but more or less I'm getting what you're saying. To take so much cognizance through a writ or to provide a constitutional remedy. So for any violation of a fundamental right, you can directly approach the Supreme Court and the High Court. I hope you know this. And when you approach the Supreme Court for violation of a fundamental right, you do it under Article 32. Okay? Rather fast हो गया? Repeat करूँ? Anything?
Continue.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, कौन सा repeat करूँ? बताओ.
दोनों ही मैम.
Okay. Article 32, when your fundamental right has been violated and you want an immediate remedy, you go to the Supreme Court and you approach the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Constitution. Constitutional remedy for violation of fundamental rights. Okay. 226, same scenario, just for high courts. Yeah. Any sort of violation of fundamental rights, you approach the Supreme Court or the High Court through the Okay, slower than this. Okay. 32 for Supreme Court, 226 for High Court for violation of fundamental rights or any sort of violation of any legal or constitutional rights. Okay. While we are on this topic, let's discuss writs as well. Does anyone know what a writ is? Try कर सकते हैं.
किसी भी फंडामेंटल राइट के वायलेशन पर उसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट जारी करता है रिट.
More or less, I'll take it. So writs are generally used to enforce the rights of people. मतलब तुम्हारा कोई right violate हुआ है. For example, say someone came and broke a bit of your house. तुम्हारा घर तोड़ गया. You can immediately approach Supreme Court कि मेरा my right to life has been violated because my house has been broken. So I will approach the Supreme Court through a particular writ. ठीक है. Now there are 5 types of these writs. And all of these writs, they can be enforced under Article 32 and 226. That is why we're talking about that is why we're talking about writs specifically. Okay. Can someone try to name the types of writs? I will give you all of them up here. Someone wants to try. What are the different writs? Okay. 5 different types of writs. Habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, quo warranto, and prohibition. I will discuss all of these in detail. So, उसमें कोई problem नहीं है. Should we start? Yeah, इसी पे कोई question है तो.
Yes, ma'am. Start.
Okay. Let's start with habeas corpus. Okay. Habeas corpus, Latin term है. Literally means give the body. ठीक है. When is habeas corpus used? When someone has been illegally detained. Illegally detained मतलब क्या? पुलिस आए तुम्हारे घर एक दिन तुमको उठा के लेके चले गए. ठीक है. No warrant, no legal recourse, nothing. They came, they put you in the police van, they took you away. Your family members or you, even in any scenario, you have the immediate right to file a habeas corpus writ in the Supreme Court or in the High Court for violation of your fundamental right to life. Yeah. So your body has been illegally detained. That is what habeas corpus means. And what the court will do upon the issuance of a habeas corpus writ is they will basically say release the body. So they will ask for whoever has detained. And of course, this can only be applied for public authorities. Any public authority that has detained you, they will be asked to immediately release you. Okay, clear? Questions? Should we go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Mandamus. What is mandamus? Okay, so the writ of mandamus is generally an order given from a higher court to a lower court asking them to do something or to not do something. Okay, so distinction क्या है basically? For example, jurisdiction अलग अलग होता है कोर्ट्स के. हाई कोर्ट्स का एक jurisdiction होता है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स का एक jurisdiction होता है, लोअर कोर्ट्स का और भी कम jurisdiction होता है. ठीक है. So in any scenario, the high court, for example, decides to take on a case. उनको एक केस पे जजमेंट देना है which they don't have the authority to do. उनके पास कोई हक नहीं है कि वो उस केस पे जजमेंट दे. And they have started giving the judgment. What the Supreme Court will do in this scenario is they will issue a mandamus, a writ of mandamus, and they will tell the High Court कि भाई तुम्हारे पास कोई right नहीं है कि तुम इस केस पे जजमेंट दो. Please stop what you're doing immediately and don't do it anymore. Writ of mandamus. Asking a lower court to abstain from doing something or to give a lower court an order to do something. In a similar scenario, say the High Court isn't accepting a particular case, Supreme Court issues a writ of mandamus, tells High Court, तुम इस केस को accept करो. This is an order from us. They will have to accept the case. Writ of mandamus. Questions? Does habeas corpus work in case of NSA? Okay, generally NSA का थोड़ा complicated scene है. NSA has qualifications which state that because it's such a rigid draconian rule, you do not need a warrant to arrest for NSA. Okay? You do not need a warrant to arrest for NSA according to the act itself. So when the act itself specifies that you don't need a particular qualification, For 3 months, you can be detained under NSA initially, and then it can be extended by a court. So, for example, if under NSA you are detained for more than 3 months without taking you to a magistrate or a court, or presenting you before a magistrate for within 24 hours, then habeas corpus will apply. In that particular scenario, your right has been violated, because if a statute says something and you go against that statute, even if you did not require a warrant, then you can clearly apply habeas corpus. Clear for Anurag?
NSA?
Aisha, yes.
What is NSA?
NSA is National Security Act. It is एक थोड़ा मतलब draconian type का act है. If you guys have heard of UAPA and NSA are kind of similar. मतलब you can be arrested if at any point of time NSA is implemented किसी भी जगह में. You can be arrested without a warrant. You won't have a right to a lawyer. So if you guys know about Laureate Act, जो Laureate Act में होता था, almost same scenario. No public trial, no legal representation, and no arrest warrant. ठीक है? Similar case for NSA. मतलब it's a very complicated topic in general. I hope we get to deal with it sometime. But for now, मतलब इतना ही याद रखो. Okay. Any other questions before we move forward? Great. Certiorari. What is certiorari? Okay. Certiorari is a corrective writ. Corrective writ मतलब क्या होता है? So, for example, the High Court या Supreme Court took your case, ठीक है? And they gave this judgment. So you filed a case against someone. The High Court said you won the case. Then 2 years later, when you go to the High Court to check your case ka records, you discover that the High Court has recorded that the other person won the case. What do you do then? You put forward a writ of certiorari and you ask for a correction of those records. Okay. So obvious mistake or error in any sort of public records, in any sort of public authorities records, can be corrected by a writ of certiorari. Clear? Guys, थोड़ा responses चाहिए. I know complicated topics are constitutional topics है, and मतलब we are थोड़ा diverting from GK, but still. Great. What is quo warranto? Quo warranto we just did. One second. We did certiorari, right? Sorry. Quo warranto. Okay. Quo warranto is basically for. So I'll start with an example. For example, you decide today that you are going to be a judge of the Supreme Court. You go and you take that particular office and you sit down. कि मेरे पास सारे qualifications हैं. I'm going to be the judge of the Supreme Court. Not allowed. Court will immediately issue quo warranto against you, and they will say कि you are a private person who has assumed this particular position of the CJI or a judge of the Supreme Court without any right. You don't have any right to that position. You are not a lawyer. You just said, I have all the qualifications, and you sat down in that post. They will immediately ask you to step down from that post. And quo warranto literally means in Latin, by what authority? So by issuing that particular writ of quo warranto, the court will ask you, by what authority have you taken this particular seat? By what authority have you considered yourself to be a judge of the Supreme Court? Right? Quo warranto. Any questions? Cool. Final writ, prohibition. Okay. Prohibition is kind of similar to mandamus, or kind of similar to certiorari too, to a certain extent. Prohibition is basically when the Supreme Court decides, or when any higher court decides that they will immediately block the action of a lower court. So today, the High Court takes up a murder case. The Supreme Court decides that this murder case does not need to be heard. They will immediately say, please stop hearing the case. Stop. That's it. In case of certiorari or mandamus, orders are being issued to an authority or to a lower court, asking them to not do something or to do something. But in case of prohibition, it's an immediate stop. The High Court cannot hear that case anymore because they've clearly been given an order by the Supreme Court that this case will not be heard. Clear? Any questions on writs, these specific constitutional topics that we just discussed? है तो please mic on करके पूछो, and we'll move on to.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Gautam.
मैम और एक बार रिपीट कर सकते हो क्या सारे का सारे?
सारे?
फोर.
Okay. प्रोहिबिशन, ठीक है, प्रोहिबिशन से स्टार्ट करते हैं. Prohibition is Supreme Court giving an order asking court to stop doing, to stop listening to a case, to stop hearing a particular case, because these courts don't have jurisdiction to hear that particular case. Clear?
Okay, ma'am.
412 is when a private person takes on a certain public authority, certain office for which he has no right, court will issue quo warranto and say you cannot assume that particular office. Quo warranto. Okay.
Okay.
Then is certiorari. Right. Certiorari will be issued for correction. So, public records में कुछ गलत है, you discover it, you file a writ of certiorari. Supreme Court, yeah, any sort of court will give the lower court an instruction. Say, Supreme Court will give High Court an instruction. Please change those records and please ensure a correction of those records. So basically, certiorari को corrective writ बोलते हैं. Okay. Next is, what did I do next? Mandamus, right? Mandamus. Mandamus literally means Supreme Court asks lower court to do something or not to do something. Okay. Again, question of jurisdiction arises if the High Court does not have the jurisdiction to perform a particular act. We go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court will say, you don't have jurisdiction. You cannot hear this particular case. Okay. Mandamus. Finally, we have habeas corpus. Habeas corpus का literal meaning है release the body, basically. So, if there is some sort of illegal detention, if there's some sort of case in which you have been arrested, say without a warrant, or you have been taken into custody without any sort of legal recourse, you approach court, court will issue a writ of habeas corpus and you will have to be released according to that writ. Done?
Okay, ma'am.
We will move to हर बार.
मैम
Yes.
मैम स्टे लगाने का क्या वो होता है?
क्या लगाने का?
स्टे लगाने का स्टे.
Stay is prohibition. Prohibition, yeah, mandamus, whatever the court chooses to apply for any sort of order. Higher court to inferior court, always remember. Supreme Court can give an order to High Court can give an order to trial court. ठीक है? Okay. Should we move
फांसी
to
की शिक्षा रद्द की जाती है, ये क्या मैम प्रोहिबिशन?
sorry.
फांसी की शिक्षा.
मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Can someone type it out? Nalanda Academy से जो भी है, can you please help?
यस मैम.
सौरभ कुछ बोलने का कोशिश कर रहा है, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है तो.
मैं वो फांसी किससे बोल रहा था? फांसी की शिक्षा. फांसी.
ओ एज इन एग्जीक्यूशन वाली फांसी.
हेलो सौरभ.
प्रोहिबिशन में आती है क्या?
हाँ.
Prohibition. Okay. हाँ, मतलब no, not essentially what you're trying to say. Okay, that will come under presidential pardon या presidential stay. ठीक है? That is an entirely different topic constitutionally. फांसी का जो stay होता है या any sort of execution का जो stay होता है, that comes under Article 72 of the Constitution. Article 72 of the Constitution is presidential pardon. Article 161 is gubernatorial pardon, which is basically governor का. I will write this down. Okay, हमारे Constitution में घुस गया है. 72 is presidential pardon, 161 is governor's pardon, gubernatorial pardon. तो सौरभ, what you're saying कि फांसी का जो स्टे होता है, that is a commutation. It is called a commutation. Yeah. Commutation can be issued by the president under Article 72 and 161. ठीक है? Not under 32 to 26. 32 to 26 cannot be filed for any sort of crime. Civil है वो. 72 161 is for any sort of criminals or alleged criminals who want to ask for pardons. Clear, Saurabh?
Yeah.
और कुछ क्वेश्चन है किसी का? Great. We will move to the next topic. Finally, second topic. Okay. Russia pulls out of Open Skies Treaty. ठीक है, I'll give you a minute or two to read this.
जैसा मैं थोड़ा जूम करना
और थोड़ा zoom. Okay.
हाँ थोड़ा
अभी ठीक है?
just not fine.
Okay. Please read this for 2 minutes and I will go over it. Okay. Okay. Open Skies Treaty. Open Sky Treaty क्या होता है? Does anyone want to take a shot before I explain? Chat box में लिख रहे हो तो मुझे पता नहीं चलेगा. Open Skies Treaty. Okay. Generally, Open Skies Treaty is there's this particular pact that is created countries के बीच में कि unarmed surveillance flights will be allowed to go over each of these countries, and these countries are friendly countries generally. So ये जो चीज है unarmed surveillance flights, what it means is you cannot have any weapons on that flight. So basically it can be a flight which is sort of a commercial flight हो सकता है, या you can also have say air force planes doing normal routine surveillance, but उसपे कोई weapons या कोई arms होना allowed नहीं है. ठीक है. तो this Open Skies Treaty particularly USA, ये चीजें याद रखना जरूरी है, USA had pulled out of the Open Skies Treaty in November 2020. ठीक है. And then very recently Russia has pulled out. So USA का main reason for pulling out of this particular treaty was that they claimed कि Russia violations कर रहा है, and that is why they cannot be a part of the Open Skies Treaty anymore. ठीक है. This thing, Russia's continued non-compliance. The USA for over a decade had accused Russia of non-compliance with OST protocols or Open Skies Treaty protocols, blaming Moscow for obstructing surveillance flights in its territory. Okay. So generally, USA had said that whenever USA was sending surveillance flights over to Russia, Russia was trying to stop those flights. But whenever Russia was sending flights, they were doing non-compliance with the OST protocols. Okay. Misusing its own missions for gathering key tactical data. Meaning, वो जो flight भेज रहे थे, they were using it to gather information on war, some sort of battle, whatever they were trying to do for their own security. Okay. Okay. The USA had also accused Russia of designating an airfield in the annexed Crimean Peninsula as an open skies refueling base as an illegal attempt by Russia to cement its claim to the Ukrainian region. उतना ज़्यादा relevant नहीं है. But can someone tell me, I remember having discussed this, so can someone tell me why Russia isn't a member of the G8 anymore? Because
मैम ह्यूमन राइट कमीशन का वो वायलेशन किया था.
Okay, close enough. Human rights violation हुआ था in which area? This particular area that we're talking about. ठीक है, Crimea. This Ukrainian annexation, the Crimean annexation that Russia did has it blacklisted from G8 at the moment, which means they're not a particular member, and we have reverted back to G7. Yeah. Full form याद रखना जरूरी है, Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces or INF Treaty. Okay. And finally, Open Skies Treaty का कुछ normal background which we'll discuss. Who proposed Open Skies Treaty? USA, again, very important to remember. 1955, after the Cold War. Yeah. 1992 में the treaty was signed between NATO members and Warsaw Pact members. Warsaw Pact का भी year, the Warsaw Pact was signed in 1955. Yeah. That is more or less it for this particular topic. OST में इतना कुछ है नहीं. 34 signatories, ये भी याद रखना जरूरी है कि there are 34 countries which have signed the Open Skies Treaty and have agreed to share this information. And finally, India is not a member of this particular treaty. Okay, we are going to move to the next topic. बहुत heavy class हो गया आज, पूरा constitution discuss कर चुके हैं. ठीक है. Chinese incursions in Taiwan. Okay, 1 second. So again, I'll give you 30 seconds to 1 minute to read this, and then we'll discuss this in detail. What is happening?
Ma'am, meaning of incursions?
Incursion is to go into something, ठीक है? तो basically China अपने planes भेज रहा है ताइवान में, हम अभी discuss करेंगे वो. तो incursion in this particular scenario is China going into Taiwan. ठीक है? Okay. Please read this right now and then we'll discuss. Okay. Let's talk about this particular. So Taiwan क्या है? पहले let's talk about Taiwan. Taiwan is this different territory which was once a part of China, but it is no longer considered to be a part of China's own state. ठीक है? Taiwan says that Taiwan itself is a sovereign state. What does sovereign mean? Anyone? What does sovereign state mean? Independent. Yes, more or less independent is the right term. Sovereign state means any state in which other countries cannot interfere in the happenings. मतलब दूसरे कंट्री से कोई तुम्हारे sovereign state को ये नहीं बोल सकता कि तुम ये क्यों कर रहे हो या तुम वो क्यों कर रहे हो. Is India a sovereign state?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how do we know India is a sovereign state? Preamble में लिखा हुआ है. Preamble to the Constitution states that sovereignty is a part of India's character as a state. Okay, coming back to this. थोड़े बहुत चीजें हम याद रखेंगे. China and Taiwan separated amid civil war in 1949. China considers Taiwan as a part of their territory. Taiwan says Taiwan is a sovereign state. ठीक है? China put forward a formula known as one country, two systems. ठीक है? So what happened is, this is the same thing as what is happening in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong and Taiwan, both of these countries are governed by this sort of one country, two systems thing. Hong Kong has its own constitution. Similarly, Taiwan will also have its own constitution. And they get a certain amount of autonomy. Okay? Taiwan rejected this particular offer. Okay? Taiwan did not want to accept it, but Hong Kong had accepted it. Okay? In Taiwan, the offer was rejected, but government relaxed rules on visitations and investment in China. Okay? Taiwan's full name is Taiwan's Republic of China. So Republic of China is ROC and Taiwan is Taiwan's Republic of China. Hong Kong. Hong Kong का 2020 में एक national security law implement हुआ था. We are not going to discuss too much about it in the Taiwanese context, but just in general talk about it. There was this national security law which stated that if any criminal came from China to Taiwan, they could sort of be arrested immediately, and this threatened Hong Kong's autonomy. So Hong Kong का independence threaten हो रहा था इससे. Basically, Hong Kong was saying this means that you can just pick up any of our residents. तुम किसी भी citizen को उठा सकते हो and you can arrest them, saying they did a crime in China, so they can be arrested Hong Kong maybe. That was more or less the point of national security law. And the reason why people were so angry about it is क्योंकि Hong Kong is supposed to be an entirely independent autonomous territory. They decide everything for themselves. ये कब हुआ था? जब Hong Kong was released from British rule. ठीक है? So once Hong Kong was released from British rule, they became an autonomous independent state. But recently, especially with this national security law, China has kind of started saying कि नहीं, Hong Kong हमारा भी territory है, and we are going to basically implement laws which allow us to establish some sort of control over Hong Kong. ठीक है? ये एक दो चीजें हम देखेंगे. The Chinese government passed an anti-secession law in 2005. What is secession? Secession is basically एक state का divide होना. So, for example, India got divided into India and Pakistan. That was a secession. ठीक है? India got divided into two parts. Okay. Can someone tell me when the last war with China was? Proper war, Sino-Indian war. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
1970.
So there were two Sino-India wars, as far as I remember. There was one in 1961, which is the first Sino-India war. Second one was 1967, not 1965. Okay. Second war was 1967, which is probably the last full-scale war we had with China. Okay. So class is almost over. We have just 10 minutes left. So we just want to discuss this topic. Okay. China का surrounding border sea is South China Sea. थोड़ा obvious सा question है, but याद रखना जरूरी है. And India's stand on the issue. Okay. India, since 1949, has accepted the One China policy that accepts Taiwan and Tibet as a part of China. So, in a similar way, for example, we are talking about Taiwan as an independent community, right? So, India agrees with China that Taiwan is a part of China and Taiwan should be governed as a part of China itself. But why do they do it? Diplomatic point hai. So, if you guys know that China is constantly trying to gain territory in the north, right? So, matlab, by saying this, that Taiwan is a part of China, India also kind of goes forward to say, वो जो ऊपर का north का जो territory है that China is trying to conquer, वो भी India का ही part है और China should believe in that as well because हम हमारे तरफ से बोल रहे हैं कि one China है, Taiwan is a part of China. Similarly, those territories that China is trying to conquer are a part of India. Okay. Taiwan का, like I said, Taiwan, the Republic of China, it is not a member of United Nations. Yeah, because even though Taiwan considers themselves an autonomous state or an autonomous country, is not a member of the United Nations. And Taiwan is Asia's 5th largest economy. Okay. Right. With that, we will stop for today because काफी heavy class हो गया, especially with constitutional topics. So I will wait 5 minutes right before ending the class कि कोई भी question है आज के जो topics है because they are very very important topics. You won't just need them for CLAT, but law school में आके भी ये सब बहुत जरूरी है. तो अभी भी कोई question है तो please पूछ लो on any of the topics we discussed today. Nothing. You understood everything. सारे constitutional topics sorted. Article 32 और 226 क्या है?
Fundamental rights, Supreme Court, High Court.
Supreme Court, High Court.
32 Supreme Court and 226
226 High Court है.
High
But
Court.
purpose क्या है 32 और 226 का?
जो हमारे फंडामेंटल राइट्स है उसके ऊपर गदा बैरियर आ गए तो हम हाई कोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट में वो बैठ मांग सकते हैं.
Great. Okay. Basically, for violation of fundamental rights or any other sort of rights, we can approach the High Court and the Supreme Court under 32 and 226. And what are the 5 types of writs?
Habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, quo warranto.
Great. Fine. मतलब मुझे समझ में नहीं आता था कभी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का टॉपिक इतना intricately. So if I've been able to make you guys understand, great. Very happy about that. Okay. So we are going to end today's class here. I wasn't able to make much of progress उस पे sheet पे. We did 5 pages mostly. So again, dropping my number if anyone wants to discuss anything or GK, just dropping that number and email me. If we discuss करना है तो please drop me a mail or a text. Sheet will be uploaded after we finished discussing this Jan 15 to 30.